News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm John Tucker.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
And Karen, futures are dropping on heels of a warning from Nvidia. The chip giant says it's going to have to report about $5.5 billion in write-downs during the current quarter. That's because the Trump administration has barred Nvidia from selling its H20 chip in China. And Bloomberg's Mike Shepard says the government is concerned the chip could be used in or diverted to a supercomputer in China.
That is one of the concerns that the U.S. government has, is that, in fact, by using a different package or stack of these H20 chips, and remember, the H20 chip has already been modified and scaled down for the China market, and that's owing to restrictions going back to 2022. As Kaylee mentioned, Nvidia has been in the crosshairs since the Biden administration for the advanced chips it produces and sells, and have been selling into the China market, and they have been looking to make sure that China doesn't get its hands on the best stuff.
Bloomberg's Mike Shepard in Washington. Shares of Nvidia right now down more than 5% in early trading.
Well, John, also adding to weakness to chip stocks this morning, a disappointing report from Dutch chip equipment maker ASML Holding. The company reported orders for the first quarter that were more than $1.1 billion less than expected. ASML is also warning that it doesn't know how to quantify the impact from recent tariff announcements, which are threatening to upend the semiconductor industry. And shares of ASML are down more than 5% in Europe.
And Karen, Tesla reportedly suspending plans to ship components from China for Cybercab and semi-electric trucks in the U.S. Reuters says Elon Musk was prepared to absorb the additional costs when President Trump imposed the 34% tariff on Chinese goods, but could not do so when the tariff went beyond that. Shares of Tesla down more than 3% in early trading.
Now, John, let's get the latest on the escalating trade war between the U.S. and China. Bloomberg News has learned China wants to see a number of steps from President Trump's administration before agreeing to trade talks. That includes showing more respect by reining in disparaging remarks by members of his cabinet. Meanwhile, President Trump is calling on China to reach out for trade negotiations. And here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt speaking yesterday. Sources tell Bloomberg that Beijing also wants the U.S. to appoint a point person for talks who has the president's support and can help prepare a deal that Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping can sign when they meet. Well, John, as investors await the latest tariff developments, they will have a key speech by Jay Powell to digest. And we get a preview with Bloomberg's Michael McKee.
Corporate leaders, economists, investors, and Fed officials all have the same problem. Nobody knows what Donald Trump is actually going to do on tariffs. Fed Governor Chris Waller said Monday it's impossible now to forecast how the economy will develop, which makes Fed Chairman Jay Powell's job much harder today. In his Chicago speech, the chair will attempt to reassure jittery markets that no matter what happens, the central bank will be on the job, able to raise rates if Trump's new taxes increase inflation or cut rates if they lead the economy to slow significantly. He said all that before, of course. It's not clear what he can add to that message today. Michael McKee, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Michael, thank you. Well, Bloomberg will bring you Jay Powell's full remarks from the Economic Club of Chicago. Coverage begins at 1:30 Wall Street time on Bloomberg Radio, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Podcast page on YouTube.
And looking over in Europe now, UK inflation slipped for a second straight month. Consumer prices rose just 2.6% in the 12 months to March. This was driven by cheaper computer games, falling fuel prices, and unchanged food costs.
Well, back here in the U.S., John, it appears the move to increase taxes for the ultra-wealthy is gaining traction among lawmakers, including Republicans. And Bloomberg's Amy Morris has more from Washington.
Republicans in the White House, the Senate, and the House are considering a new tax bracket for the wealthiest Americans, with the House proposal setting a 40% rate for those earning $1 million or more per year. These talks are part of the effort to pay for a sweeping tax bill by the end of this year, with options including offsetting the cost of an expanded state and local tax deduction with a millionaire's bracket. A White House official tells Bloomberg President Trump is open to the idea of a new top tax bracket, but for an income greater than than $1 million. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm John Tucker, and this is Bloomberg.